I am running late again, as this weekend I had the choice of telling you how to run a campaign with using just the Creature Crucible supplements or dropping a spliced RF4 cable between the wall of my living room and my future den in my new house, so I can turn the former master dining room into a quaint movie watching room and leave the living room open for a gaming room or a modeling studio, so I can have a place to engage in my hobbies when I actually have a house I can live in. Thus, welcome to Mystara had to wait. But no longer. You wanted to know the ins and outs of all Creature Crucible parties, so enough stalling and time to start talking. I'm Mr. Welch, and today we're going off the rails by making our adventure parties only using the Creature Crucibles. For those unfamiliar with the Crucibles, they were 4 supplements that gave Mystara new areas and, more importantly, new playable races for the party. I've done a separate video on all 4 of them, starting with the Fey Tall Tales of the Wee Folk, the Aerial Top Ballista, the Underwater Sea People, and the Lycanthropic Night Howlers. Of note, Night Howlers is the only one set after Wrath of the Immortals, but that's not much of an issue because that doesn't impact creating NPCs at all. The one that is the most difficult to incorporate into other parties is the Sea People, simply because most of the creatures in that book can't breathe air. So for this video, I'm mostly talking about the other 3 books. First, why would you even do a Creature Crucible party? Because variety is the spice of life, and sometimes going Gonzo gets you some of the best adventures because you are throwing everything on its ear. Everybody knows about the 7 core classes in BECME, but having everybody grab an alternate character might shake things up. Having a cantankerous werebore arguing the best way to handle the madness of Castle Amber with a nihilistic Nagpa can provide a lot of entertainment for everybody. Or having the gnome trying to explain to the overly chivalrous pixie fighter that maybe it's not a good idea to challenge the dragon to a one-on-one fight. There's a few warnings about doing a Creature Crucible only party. The first one is I have to warn you that some of the more powerful races like the Treant or the Sphinx have negative XP levels that you have to buy off before they get all their powers, and then some of those XP costs are quite high. There's a better balanced XP chart for some of the bigger creatures on the Vaults of Pandios that I highly recommend everyone use, so the Sphinx doesn't have to gain 50,000 experience points to get to the next pseudo-negative level, while everybody that didn't take an insane option for a player character is pushing 5th or 6th level. The second warning is that a lot of the creatures in the Crucibles don't handle human architecture well at all. Treants are the first things that spring to mind. Ever tried to shove an oak tree into the Palace of the Silver Princess? Nightmare! Centaurs are another problem with the whole horses and stairs issue, especially if you hit a circular staircase. Sea giants have a problem because of their size, but then again they can't breathe air. There's a few air breathers among the sea people that are viable options, but Kopru are built like walruses with flippers instead of legs, so you can imagine getting them through a dungeon. Let your players know what to expect before starting the campaign to avoid having the Treant outside smoking a pipe because the party can't get him through the door to come back in. Now that you've got the party, the creatures tend to boil down to 3 different types: near humans, Edie Biddies, and total weirdos. Near humans are the most common options players will take. She, dryads, satyrs, gnomes, any of the lycanthropes, and the Fenir come to mind. Their rules aren't too far off the rails, they aren't waiting multiple adventures to level up, and they can fit into a human city easily enough. Edie Biddies are the races that would qualify for tiny to small size categories in other editions. Pixies, sprites, gremlins, leprechauns, and imps fall into this category. They have their own abilities, but they're typically limited on hit points, and their damage potential is greatly reduced, and you can also punt them about half a mile with a good kick. Except for the magic-using sprite, most of these are devoted fighting types only with tiny weapons. It's okay for 1 or 2 of the players to grab an itty-bitty race, but if you try to build a party out of them, you're going to be rolling up new characters quite a lot. Lastly, there's the just-off-the-wall types. These are the Nagpas, the Sphinxes, the Treants, the Kopru, Centaurs, and Harpies. These are true monster types, either utterly alien in either appearance, mentality, or both. As a result, most of them have massive XP requirements to gain all their powers. At full power, they're some of the toughest PCs in the game, but it's going to take forever to get that far. Like the tiny creatures, only 1 or 2 of these are best for playing because the XP penalty keeps them vulnerable for a long time because of the lack of hit points. A third problem that you will have that will have to be addressed is that the Crucible monsters don't compare to the human classes, which hurts especially if you need a thief. There's a few monsters that have some thieving skills, but none of them have the full gamut that the normal thieves do. The easy solution is to use thieves that are also lycanthropes. So if you have a thief werefox, or say a magic user werebat, or whatever makes you need, that gets rid of a lot of the problems. The player won't be as powerful as a single class, of course, but it won't be that far behind, and you're not min-maxing this party anyways. Balance will always be an issue, because there is no way you are going to make an evenly remotely balanced party with the creature options you are playing with. At certain levels, several monsters are going to be immune to non-magic weapons, especially the lycanthropes. That leaves your options at throwing in a lot of silver and magic weapons to deal with the werewolf and losing all resemblance of fairness, or trying to keep the modules as written and have one player that's immune to most attacks. The best options is to increase the number of magic using enemies so it's not obvious, and also so the party isn't hauling around a huge hoard of silver weapons back after every adventure. It's a little rough on the other player characters, but it is the healthiest compromise. And remember, after a certain level with special abilities, I think it's 4 hit dice. If you have one special ability, that counts as a magic weapon. So you can always throw the monsters that can hurt the werewolves or the werebears. Don't do this too often, because then if you give somebody an immunity, but that immunity never comes into play, that causes hard feelings. Trust me on that one. One minor problem you might have if you somehow manage to make a full campaign out of this party is dealing with rewarding the players with domains. There's not a lot of these creatures that you can honestly expect to be rewarded with domains of their own. Sure, the gnomes or the Shi are easy enough to give a domain, but nobody expects King Ericol of Norwal to actually knight the Kopru, even if he has reached name level. Still, you know, one player is certainly going to try. If the party somehow lasts that long, one of your best options is to give them an airship or a gate to Sigil and take the party to new locales where their unit construction isn't going to get old. This is a Gonzo party. They need Gonzo Adventures. A Pixie Knight isn't going to be satisfied running a small barony anyways. Let him challenge the Master of Hool to single combat. Have a Centaur joust Baron von Hendrix in the halls of his own castle. The Hassau is going to challenge the restriction on clerics and Glantry by taking all of his Hassau buddies right to the Glantrian Parliament to have a word with all the princes at the same time. The players are looking for over-the-top adventures, so you're going to have to give them that. So that's what makes or breaks this campaign. Over-the-top adventurers require over-the-top adventures. The last problem with this kind of campaign is going to be the price. You can get the PDF for the first 3 books for just a few dollars each. Even the hard copies are in about $40 range tops. For Night Howlers, it's paper copy or death. There's not a legally available PDF. The lycanthropes provide most of the necessary skills for some adventures, so you're going to need a copy of that one. And for the love of God, do not let lycanthropes take the merchant classes from Darrican or Minrithad, or else they're keeping track of 3 separate XP charts to level up. Just a fair warning. Now to answer all the questions you have about the book. Before that, I'd just like to point out that I passed 2,000 followers, so welcome to Mystara, new people. I'm in a state of flux because I'm moving, but I'm keeping to one a week because I hate delays, especially on my house. I'm waiting on new art from Misha. Rubus has to finish his contract before he can jump on the new art. He's almost done, but then that comes the arguing and the debating and the brainstorming, especially on the new cover. We want a theme that screams Mystara, but isn't just a generic party versus monster that is pretty much all the 5th edition covers. Seriously, they've got a dragon and a giant and a beholder, and that's kind of cliche, so we're looking for something original. Wanted to do Morgan Ironwolf versus Sin, the Night Dragon in the Glantrian Parliament, but he dismissed that as too busy for an actual cover. I'm getting reviews of the book done by independent reviewers, and they've all been rave, as I expected, but you can't assume that. You have to give the book and just wait back and cross your fingers. The book is several months before it's ready to go to the guild, just for the art. I'm spending every day trying to get it noticed and ready. Thanks to AJ Pickett for talking about Mystara on his stream. If anybody else has an established channel and would like to review it or talk to me about it, let me know. And I will be linking any reviews to this page so people can read and see what other people like about it. So until next week, remember, a little madness now and then is treasured by the wisest men.